Welcome to the program, bitches! Yes, folks, it has come to pass. I've been on here making videos for just about 6 months now, and to tell you the truth, I've been having a great time doing it for you guys. The feedback I get sometimes is overwhelming, such as my Evangelion review, which is my most popular video, and sometimes I get nothing, like my podcast with my buddy Eric. Now, I understand why you wouldn't want to sit there and listen to us talk about Stephen King or writing for an hour, but you guys really do make it worthwhile. So for my 100th video, I'm going to take it back to my very first review. Coming full circle, I'm going to be reviewing Battle Royale again. This time, I'm going to give it the respect and the script and the chops that it deserves, as a thank you to every single one of you guys. So, Battle Royale is a deep action manga written by Koshun Takami, with beautiful and brutal art by Masayuki Taguchi. It's rated 16+, so any of you kids who may watch this, forget about it. All the volumes are even wrapped in plastic at Borders and Barnes & Noble, so if you want to read them in the store, you're shit out of luck, unless you want to break some laws. Now, the manga is based on the book of the same name. There's also a movie based on the novel, but that takes a lot of liberties and shortcuts to fit in a 2-hour time span. I mean, you sort of have to when the source material clocks in at 615 pages, and the more closely adapted manga is 15 volumes long. Both the book and manga have a depth of characters and intrigue unlike any other manga I've ever read, other than maybe Welcome to the NHK. But that anime and manga only had 5 core characters, and it went on for like 8 volumes. So it had more time to focus on the characters. Battle Royale, on the other hand, has just short of double that time and has to introduce and flesh out some 43 characters, each with their own personality and backstory. So, the story begins with an alternate history of the world, where Japan became a military dictatorship after World War II. Rock and roll has been outlawed, and children are brought up in a nation run by fear. In order to instill fear into the children, the government has created a once-a-year TV show, a blood sport called The Program. Yeah, real original. Where a high school class is hijacked and forced to kill each other in an undisclosed location. The fear of the program keeps teenagers from joining any kind of organized rebellion against the powers that be, because any government that's willing to kill kids on TV for sport is also willing to kill kids for getting out of line. Think The Running Man with a high school class and you're halfway there. The manga begins with the beginning of program number 12, or that may be the book. I might be getting them crossed. The entire class of students is on the bus for a field trip, and everyone starts falling asleep. They wake up in a classroom on an island in the middle of the night. Panic ensues when all the students realize they've got metal collars around their necks. That is when the ringleader of the little circus walks in and lays out the rules for all of them. They have been chosen for the program, a game where the entire class has to kill each other until one remains. The remaining kid will be able to live out the rest of their lives as if nothing happened, as if the horror of killing all your friends and classmates wouldn't scar you for life. The collars around their necks serve 3 purposes. Like a LoJack, they've all got GPS systems in them. So if one of the children tries to escape, it will explode. Yeah, just like the Running Man. And every 2 hours, certain parts of the island will become danger zones. And if they are caught in one or wander into one, they'll explode as well. That keeps them from hanging out in one spot and camping for too long, and it forces them to, a smaller area as the game progresses and fewer contestants are around. And the last reason is to force them to play. If no one dies within a 24-hour period, they will all explode. No winners, simply game over. Everyone dies. They are then sent out in 2-minute intervals to give them time to get away, with a duffel bag for each of them containing a bottle of water, a loaf of bread, a map, a pencil, and a weapon. Some of the weapons are as useless as boomerangs, while others are as deadly as Uzis and shotguns. And thus the game begins. So now that you have this set up, it's time to tell you about the players of the government's sick game. At least a few of them, because if I listed them all, it would take way too long. Our first main character is Shuya Nanahara, our good-looking hero. He's a rock and roll rebel who kinda has a heart of gold. Super nice guy, which makes him a huge target. He doesn't even want to play the game. In fact, he wants to band together with his fellow students, leading some kind of assault or rebellion on the command center for the whole operation. His best friend is killed by the twisted ringleader before the game even begins, thus giving him more depth of character than you would normally expect from that type of character, because he wants to avenge his friend as well. And their second character, Noriko Nakagawa, the girl that Shuya's best friend liked. Shuya decides to protect her for his friend. She mostly plays the role of dead weight and kind of thinker strategist because she does a lot of talking. She talks a lot. And third character, Shogo Kawada. Total badass motherfucker. Nothing else need be said about him or else I'll ruin him. And then Kazuo Kiriyama, the emotionless killer. A kid who is completely void of any kind of emotion. He decides to participate in the game with a coin toss. He's a killing machine, and thus the primary villain. And villain number 2, Mitsuko Soma, the hardcore bitch. And yes, I do mean bitch. She's crazier than a kitten at the bottom of a well. They call her Hardcore Soma in the manga because she has a reputation for being the craziest, most violent girl in class. And she's like a super slut. But she's also an interesting character. She's the second primary villain. But like I said, there are over 40 characters in this thing, and each one has some kind of backstory and personality, and a lot of them are psychotic. Or they're very damaged, which, as you all know, I love damaged characters. It makes them so much more interesting than regular characters because they have, they'll do things irrationally, and they're just better characters if they have some kind of damage in their background. If you're writing a story with all perfect characters and people, you're not going to have a story. Now let's talk about the second part about the manga that I love, the visual style. The art is fan-fucking-tastic. Wonderfully detailed and oftentimes extremely brutal. I mean, you'd expect something like this to be ultra-violent, but it also goes over the top in brutality and gore. Not exactly for the kids. The characters all look completely different from each other, with wonderful facial details, especially their facial expressions. Whereas most manga would just take shortcuts and make the typical facial expressions you see in all manga, this one takes pains to be exceptionally detailed and realistic. The tones and shading are used to their fullest capacity here, too. They never cheap out in the backgrounds like a lot of other shoujo and shonen manga do. In fact, I can't help but think most of the time that some of the panels and pages in this thing must have taken hours to do. The best art I have ever seen in a manga. Better than Old Boy, Mars, and even Slam Dunk, which had great art but was a little slow on the narrative. Overall, if you're looking for an entertaining action comic, and you don't mind some extreme violence and gore, or if you like it like I do, because I'm just that way, I watched RoboCop when I was 2, then you'll have a great time reading this one. So for the great art and characters and the original plot, I'm going to have to recommend this one. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's a great read with great dialogue and great characters that is well worth the purchase, if not the download. Check it out. It's worth it. Now go read some manga. And thank you all for watching my stuff, because without you guys, it wouldn't be worth it. Thanks again.